Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Watch Us Thrive podcast. This is your girl, Leanne, and we have a return guest today. Oh my God, her energy is amazing. Her episode, her first one was amazing. We're going to link it in the show notes so you guys can check it out. But Angela, I am so fucking glad to have you back here. Thank you so much for saying yes and for having another amazing conversation with me because, girl,
I love it.
you've been through some shit.
I know. I'm so I just think that you're like my soul sister. We have never met in person, but I feel like we're in it. Like, I'm so happy to know you, and I love what you do with this podcast. And just anytime that we can share a story about our growth, I think it shows people what's possible because we yuck it up and we laugh at it now, but like Angela 7 years ago could not have laughed at this. You know what I'm saying? So
No, absolutely. And you saying that actually tomorrow, we're recording right now on March 11th, but tomorrow, March 12th, is going to mark the 3-year anniversary of me leaving my toxic, abusive relationship that almost killed me. So just to see the growth that,
let me just clap that out.
let's clap that up, right? Let's not gloss over that. But,
Yeah.
just seeing the growth that has come within me in the past 3 years, like I could not have these types of conversations 3 years ago either. I really want to celebrate our growth when it comes to the shitty relationships that we've been in. And that's why I asked you back on, because the first conversation was around grief and the loss of your dad and just getting to know who you are. But this conversation, I really want to focus on the relationship aspect. You talked about it on your podcast of being in a very abusive, toxic, insane relationship that she ended up, ladies and gentlemen, that you're listening or watching, she ended up in a psych ward because of this relationship. So I'm going to have you share just a little backstory so we can have some context in regards to this conversation. But what the fuck was that?
What the fuck was that? That's the question that for the ages. So I just think even before I get into some context of how that happened, and I said this on the podcast that I did too, I didn't even like him from the beginning. So this was maybe like 2013 or something. And it was Match.com. Like there was no like Bumble or anything. This is Match.com. And I met him on Match.com. And like physically, he was like 6'4", like a babe. But like his energy, I was like, he's whack as fuck. I didn't
That
like
was red flag number one, right?
No, that and then his sneakers. I was like, I hate your sneakers. I think they're dumb. They look like Merrill hiking boots. And I was like, yo, we're out to dinner in Boston. Like, why are you wearing hiking boots, you fuck? So that...
This is why I wanted her back on the show, ladies and gentlemen, okay?
So first of all, when anybody tells you... So I ignored these things, right? Because I was like 32 at the time. And I was like Risa Tisa said, when's it going to be my turn? And I just like wanted my fucking turn. So I was like turning blind eyes to everything because everyone would tell me, girl, you're picky. You're too picky. And again, if you like, you're taking advice from people who are telling you that you're too picky when they have already picked. So drop the
bar.
You've already picked. You're already in it. And I don't think there's any such thing as being too picky. I think it's just what's resonating with you. And if you don't like his goddamn sneakers and there's something about it that's rubbing you the wrong way, own it and be like, it's not right. And that's okay. Because otherwise you're going to get involved in a relationship with somebody who isn't aligned with you, who isn't right for you. And then you're going to spend the majority of your relationship having it be contentious. And that's exactly what I did. And that's how I ended up on a 5150, which is a psychiatric hold for those of you who don't know. So just some backstory leading up to that. So I got into this relationship with a man who I knew was wrong for me. And we spent our duration of our relationship of my needs taking a back seat. And this was early in my journey of boundary setting, of dismantling the people pleasing, of understanding how the matriarchy in my life told me to digest the patriarchy. Like all of the women in my life were like, shut the fuck up, do what the man says, be a good girl, right? So I didn't, but this was not the conversation I was having in 2013, 2014. Okay. So I wasn't good at asserting my needs in this relationship. I would just explode with resentment of like, what the fuck? You're not listening to me. And I would get crazy. I use that term crazy loosely because what was actually happening is I was having a reaction to abuse. And when you have a reaction to abuse with a narcissist, that narcissist will do everything in their power to gaslight you, to stonewall you, to criticize you. And this motherfucker would record me. And I will say his name is Eric, and just for that, but I won't go into his last name as much as I want to. But I feel like he's the motherfucker who probably has like files on his computer of me, like acting like a psychopath. So that's it. So like it was just this relationship of like whatever he wanted, and I just like had to go along with it. And if I said no, it was like, well, you don't care. It's just like, it's not a big deal. And to this day, if anybody tells me, if you want me to pop off at you, tell me it's not a big deal. Tell me it's not a big deal. Because I will, now it might not have been, but now it the fuck is. Because you told me that it wasn't a big deal. Now I'm in it. So he would do these things, like he would leave and I just like wouldn't hear from him. He would just like,
I am so triggered. Because same.
but I don't know if this happened to you, but where was he? Oh, he went to LA. He flew from fucking Boston to LA and just like decided to take a trip for like 2 weeks. Oh yeah.
And not saying a fucking word, just dipping out.
Just dipping out. And like, you don't have some high profile CIA job, you fuck. What do you do? We need like intelligence information for you, like a top secret? No, like you're a fitness trainer. Calm down. Like, and he would just fly out. And then I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't talk. 5 days would go and he's like, well, I'm in LA. Why? He's like, I just needed to get out. What? And then I'm not supposed to have a reaction to this, right? Like, what girlfriend would not have a reaction to her boyfriend just like, oh, see you later, and not talking to you and excluding you? It was just so hurtful. So that's what happened. He comes back and just expects me to like suck his dick and everything is great. And right? Like, I haven't seen you. I miss you. Oh, because you want to have sex. Because you want, like, I'm just supposed to acquiesce and give this to you. And I was like, look, I need to feel connected to you. Because did I take him back every single time? You betcha. You betcha.
Hi. Me too. It's okay.
Because I would just believe his gaslighting of like, it's not a big deal. I should be able to like be free and do this. Like, I'm working. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I would just like absorb it, digest it, go unheard, feel uncared for, right? And just allow it to happen. So this is why he comes back. And I was like, well, I need to feel connected to you. This was in the summer. I was like, I want to go to the beach. And he was like, okay. So comes over to my house, making plans to go to the beach, gets a phone call. And it was his friend saying, I have 2 tickets to the Red Sox game tonight. Do you want to go? Now, mind you, at the time, I lived like 2 blocks from Fenway Park. Like, you could hear the game from my apartment. And he was like, yeah, sounds good. And I was like, this motherfucker, like, you just left for 2 weeks, like, didn't talk to me. You come back, you want sex, you want to be in my life. And now you're like using my prime location apartment so that you can go to the Red Sox game. Word. Okay. I'm in tears. And he's like, well, let's just go to the beach. We'll have a good time. Leanne, when I tell you, like hysterical crying, hands on the wheel, driving on the highway to go to the beach, being told that I'm crazy. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm just like, I have never felt so uncared for in my life.
Because you were always the problem.
Always a problem. Always a problem. I should have just let it go. Whatever you wanted, whatever he wanted, not about Angela. It wasn't a relationship with reciprocity, which I want to put a pin in that, because that's something I know that we're going to come back to. That is so important. When someone just takes from you, it's like Swiss cheese, and it leaves all these holes, and all relationships are fucking transactional. I don't care what you say, unless you are the parent to a child, because that child did not ask for a relationship with you. Any adult relationship that is consensual, unless you're like held captive somewhere, any adult relationship that is consensual is transactional. Because if we're making the choice to be there, and if it's not serving us and if it's not good for us, like, why are we in this relationship? Again, I didn't know this at this time. So we get to the beach. I'm on high octane, having like a full out mentee B at this point. And we get to the beach, we're putting our stuff down, and I'm like, I can't take this. I want to crawl out of my skin. I'm so mad. I'm mad at me. I'm mad at my life. I'm mad at this man. I'm mad at like my family. I'm mad at the fact that I am in this fucking situation and I don't like how I feel and I'm struggling to find the words. I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, I gotta go. We just put our stuff down. I'm like, I gotta leave. I gotta fucking leave. And he's like, you're not leaving. Takes my fucking purse. Now, this dude is like a former football player and running down the street with my purse. And I'm like telling people, stop him. He has my purse. And like, nobody's helping me. No one's helping me. This guy runs to my car, takes his shit out of my car. And I'm like, go fuck yourself. I'm leaving. And I get in my car. I drive home. He has to take the train back. There was a commuter rail, public transportation from there. So it's not like I left him there stranded. Okay. And you're like a grown ass, big ass man. Okay. Right. It's in like northern Massachusetts. Like it's like the whitest place. Like you're fucking fine. All right. Like, yeah. Yeah. So we get back to the house and I'm like, I don't ever want to, like, I need you to, I never want to see you. I don't want to see you. And he like comes to the house. I'm scream crying, like on the floor. I'm literally purging all of this emotion, all of this anger, all this rage. He gets his stuff and does he sit with me and say, baby, I'm sorry. Can I do anything? Like, because the little girl in me was running the show, right? And I just needed some comfort. I just needed something. And he was just like standing over me, hands on his hips, being like, I don't know what the fuck your problem is. I'm going to the Red Sox game. So he goes to the game and I'm like, I fucking hate you. I go, I don't even think you'd give a fuck if I kill myself. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not fucking proud of that. And was that a threat to kill myself? No. But he used that as an opportunity while he was at the fucking baseball game. The Red Sox are baseball, for those of you who don't know. As he was at the baseball game, called the police and said, I want to do a wellness check on my girlfriend. I'm so worried about him. Because that's what he would do, right? Like, he'd always have to be the hero. He could never do anything wrong. I care. Of course I care. While you're like fucking stuffing a hot dog down your throat, drinking a beer, watching the game, while I'm being dragged out of my apartment at like 10 p.m. at night by the Boston police and being put in an ambulance. So I get to the hospital. And now, mind you, I was like dragged out of there. I went very calmly because I knew if I fought, I would be committed. Okay. So they had to watch me undress because I was in like my titty tank top. Like I wasn't in clothes. Right. I'm like, when my dog's there, like, what am I supposed to do? So they had to watch me undress because I thought I was going to kill myself. They bring me to the hospital and I'm just like, okay, how do I get out of here? I call my mom. My mom was real gangster, come to the hospital. My best friend Erin came and I was like, tell them I'm cool. Like we need to get out of this. And they're like, fuck this guy. So the nurse is asking me, she's treating me kind of like an invalid. And I'm just like, don't punch her in the face. Don't fucking pop off at her. Don't punch her in the face. Like just
do not make it worse than it already is.
100%. I was like, just nod, say thank you, say yes, all of this. And, I'm telling the nurse the story and he's like, wait a second. So you yelled at him because he left you for 2 weeks and then went to the Red Sox game? And I said, yes, that is correct. And she's like, fuck that guy. And then I got released within like an hour.
Like, yes, we love that nurse.
We love that nurse. But like, otherwise I would have been there for 72 hours on a psychiatric hold and this is like the most fucked up thing is that all it took was a man calling for people to believe him like he was the fucking savior and I was this like hysterical mess, like I was in like some Sylvia Plath poem. Like my mental breakdown was because I was a psychopath, not anything to do with this man. And all it took was one phone call while the guy was at a Red Sox game to drag me out of my apartment and then could have put me on what would have been a disastrous chain of events for me.
Now, you would think after going through something like that, despite all the shitty situations that you were in while you were in this relationship, that probably would have been it. That would have been the straw that broke the camel's back. And you'd be like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm done. I love myself enough to walk away from the toxic bullshit that comes with Eric. But it wasn't. So please elaborate. Because that is how she ended her solo episode talking about the story. And I was like, oh, bitch, we got to talk about what happened after. Like, you can't just leave that cliffhanger like that.
I fucking took him back, right? Because I remember he came over the next day and he like brought me a smoothie. And I didn't answer the door. My mother was there and she was like, absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not. He like sat outside and he's like, well, I'm here. And I just had such terrible emotional abandonment and terrible like Stockholm syndrome from this that I couldn't let him go. If he could just come back and love me, I'll be okay. I won't get mad. I won't have emotional. I'll be good. I'll be good.
I'll shut the fuck up and not say anything.
I'll shut the fuck up. Do whatever you want. So yeah, it was that. And I kept taking him back for like 6 more months.
And what was it for you that you finally were like, enough? I cannot continue this relationship anymore.
So I asked him. It was after like a blowout fight. And I asked him, I was like, do you want to marry me? Because like, this is what I wanted, right? I wanted somebody to marry me. I just fucking like going through the yellow pages trying to find somebody to marry me. And I was like, do you want to marry me? And he's like, well, and I go, thank you. That was it. I don't know what it was, but I was like, like, he doesn't want to, like, I'm going to be doing this for fucking ever. And I felt like, well, I could put up with it if you put a ring on it. Right? Like, because that would have somehow subjugated all of the bullshit because, like, I got the ring and I got the life and I got the picture perfect and I could have the wedding.
Why do we have that mindset? If we get a ring or give him a baby, he's going to magically turn into Prince fucking Charming and we can just negate and erase the bullshit that we dealt with for the last 2, 3, 10 fucking years.
I wish I had an answer for you for that. I think a lot of us who haven't healed and come from very emotionally unavailable parents have a lot of wounded inner child work that needs to happen. And wounded inner children always love them a fantasy. Like if I bring home this report card, daddy will stop drinking. If I just like fold the towels and put away the laundry, mom won't tell me I'm an idiot. Right? And we like hope and we like hang on. And when we haven't wrapped that shit up, it starts to manifest. And I call it pulling your Barbie car up at the Barbie dream house and buying curtains. We want the fantasy. We're like, well, if I just like buy the curtains for the house, like he'll come. No, it doesn't work that way. Because really what you're trying to heal is something that is completely unrelated to the man that you're with. You got to like work backwards and go to the root of that trauma. I just had a situation. I'm 42 years old. And I just had a situation where I like.
You look amazing. I just want to say that. She is a bad bitch out here, okay?
Because I don't put up with bullshit anymore, right? But yeah, it dawned on me that I was like, wow, I'm still operating from this place and I'm still repeating a lot of these patterns because of like how I interact with my mom. And that's a deep relationship and that's a really hard relationship to unpack.
Absolutely. I'm saying like doing that work that a lot of us don't want to do, that's really where the change can happen. Sitting in the uncomfortable feeling, asking those uncomfortable questions, and really getting rid of the shitty fucking people that you latched onto for so long. I can just relate so much to your situation, even though our situations are very different, but it took for me to almost die in order for me to wake the fuck up and be like, okay, let's take a hard step back and really look at our deep-seated infected wounds that have been just sitting, bleeding and not healing for so long in order for me to really start to make the change. And that's why I appreciate you being so open and honest about your own situation, because we're not alone when we're going through this, but we feel so fucking alone when we are in these really toxic, shitty, abusive relationships.
Yeah, and we think the relationship is the problem, but the relationship is the manifestation of yet another symptom of whatever it is that you have to heal. And it is probably a really painful, deep, like I said, it's a deep relationship. Like I have to really wrap up some shit with my mom.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree. And thank you so much for sharing that because I know it's not easy to talk about. But I know that offline, me and you spoke that this wasn't the only toxic relationship that you were in. You definitely repeated some same patterns in other relationships that you found yourself in. So if you want to briefly talk about that a little bit, and then get to what was the shift for you that you realize, like, hold up, what is the change that I can do within me? And what did that look like for you to start making the permanent change within self to no longer attract these toxic and abusive partners?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. But so that happened, that relationship with Eric ended at the end of 2014. And then in 2015, I didn't date, I didn't have sex, I didn't talk to anybody, I didn't want to know. I was like, let me be. Let me be. And then almost a year later to date, my father passed away suddenly. So the next year, so now we're heading into 2016. I didn't date. I was like not functional for most of that year. I was just barely putting one foot in front of the other. So I started to do some healing around my own anger, because I think how anger was showing up for me the most wasn't necessarily in a relationship at that time, but was at my job. So I was like popping off. I was a high school teacher with an anger issue, like not a fun, like what? I had no business.
Man, fuck them kids. No, I'm just playing.
Yes, no, honestly, like it really wasn't the kids. It was like all the other shit that you have to deal with that like makes you take it out on the kids. If they're not sitting down, like you're going to get fired. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I can't physically seatbelt them in or throw them in a chair. So what would you like me to do? So I think when I quit that job, after my dad died, I was like, fuck this. I hate this place. I'm going to die here miserably. So I quit that job. And then at the end of 2016, I got into a relationship.
Was it another online like Match.com or?
Yes, it was. I will never do these things ever again. We're going to meet in person.
I am not going on the fucking apps ever again because no.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So again, here's the pattern. I didn't like him. I was just vulnerable because like, I was like, oh my God, I have to have babies. Like I have to do all these things. I'm 30, almost 35 years old. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Right. Like, so I felt this enormous pressure to like love. So I got into something that wasn't right, repeated the same, like the universe will keep giving you shit until you learn a lesson. They'll give them to you in different forms. They'll give them to you in different people, but it will be the same exact thing until you decide not to be a dumb bitch and do the same pattern.
That's the kind of tough love that I respond to, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Like I wasn't done being a dumb bitch. Like I just wasn't done. I was like, they're like, you got one more in you.
Yeah.
But I will say that I did evolve a little bit. Like I was way more calm. I think grief made me like my anger wasn't seeping out like this, but I just allowed such mistreatment. One of the things like he would just say the meanest shit to me to knock me down. Like he would say shit about my dead dad. And that now is a no-brainer. That like, if anything comes out of your mouth to say anything bad about my dad, I will fucking slice your tires and I'm done. Yeah, he would say that. And like, again, emotionally unavailable. That was my guy. That was the guy that I loved. I loved an emotionally unavailable person because if this was my line, and if you're saying this line, I'm going to check you. If I could just get him to do this, if I could just be better, if I could just fill in the fucking blank. I love that sacrifice. So I don't know what I wanted from him, but he was obviously not interested in being any other man other than what he was. And every Friday I would come to his house after work and he just didn't want me there. And instead of being like, fuck you, motherfucker, and then like going and living my life, and I would like, but please, please don't kick me out. And now what do I have? Now I have white, hefty Glad bags with the stretch on the side. You know what I'm saying? With like the ruching on the side, filled with all my clothes and like my toiletries. Like there's fucking picture frames, like digging out the side of it like an asshole. And I'm carrying these down a third floor walk up every fucking Friday. Every Friday. And then he would call me on Sunday after the weekend was over so we could like dick around and play video games and be like, oh, sorry. And I'd be like, okay. And then I would run back over, bring my trash bags up the stairs and unpack. I am not lying to you that I did this like for a year.
I relate so much, but it was the opposite for me. He was the one who always tried to leave, and I was the one begging, please don't leave me, crying, unpacking his garbage fucking bags because he couldn't afford suitcases, you fucking broke asshole. But you know, like me being the one, because I was so desperate, I wanted, I held on to what I thought it could have been as opposed to taking it for what the fuck it was. And that's something that I feel like so many of us women, especially who have not done the work, who have been in these toxic relationships, like we hold on to the potential. We hold on to like, but he was so great to me in the beginning, but the sex was so amazing, but we were so connected and I want to get back to that. Meanwhile, he's cheating on you with every fucking woman under the sun. He's beating the shit out of you. You know, he's lying to you every chance that he gets. Like, what is it about me that was like, why is this okay? And yeah, why am I not enough?
Right. Why am I not enough for him to not cheat? Why am I not enough for him to like be nice to me? Like if I could just, right? If I could just be better, if I could just be hotter, if I could just be, if I could suck a better dick, if I could cook better, if I could do what he wanted more. And then what you end up doing is literally losing every part of who you are.
And having to build that part back up once you leave is so fucking hard. And I don't think enough of us talk about once we say that we left, I think people think it's like, oh, you're so free. You can live your best life now. But yo, the fucking pain that comes, even if the relationship was so toxic and shitty. Like, I remember when everything happened with me and he ended up going to jail. Like, I fucking felt sorry for him. I missed him. I was like, yo, but this is someone that I was so in love with, even though he tried to fucking kill me the night before. Navigating all those feelings of like, it's not just as simple as like, okay, now I'm going to live my best fucking life. Like, there's a lot of pain and trauma that comes with leaving and healing from that shit, you know?
Absolutely. Because I think that's the part. It's all the things, it's all of the emotions that you weren't allowed to feel when you were in that relationship. And it's unpacking the reality and the fantasy. And it's like desegregating them or segregating them. Like it's deciding what was real, what's true, what was the fantasy, what did I, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of dissecting that has to go on because you're so enmeshed in this fantasy world that you've created that once you get back to reality and you're kind of looking around, you're like, well, this wasn't how it was supposed to be. And then you realize you've been living in like what you thought it should be and what you were hoping for like 2 years.
You were living in the Delulu, like people like to say nowadays.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a form of grief. And you also have to, I think this is the other piece of it. You have to go back and forgive yourself for like who you were at the time. Because the person that made the decision is not the person who's now standing in the rubble of the decision, right? Those are two different people. And when we know better, we do better. However, when we don't get new tools to do better, even the best of intentions will always find ourselves right back in the same position over and over again. But who you were when you made that decision, who I was when I dated Eric, that woman, I think, was pretty brave though, because she was fighting. Like she knew that she had to keep going. The woman who dated John was also pretty badass because she knew that there was something that she deserved. She couldn't articulate it. But I think the woman who broke up with John, or he broke up with me. Isn't that funny? He broke up with me. That woman was the fucking bravest bitch ever because she is the one who was like, I have nothing and I know that I have to do some work. And she was the one. That version of me made the decision to get me here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and at the time, like she's the most broken. She was the most broken, but she was the bravest. She was the fucking bravest. And you would ask me like what I had to go through. I think that was part of your question. I lost, like when I tell you I had nothing, I lost my dad, 2015. I lost this relationship, 2014, right? I kind of lost a little bit of my dignity. My dad in 2015, I quit my job in 2016, started building a business, lost my beloved dog of 14 years in 2017. Relationship ended in 2018. Best friend broke up with me in 2019. And there was just like a series of things over and over and over again. And then pandemic. And then I lost my business. And then I lost my apartment. And I literally like had fucking nothing left. And I think it was the most beautiful cathartic thing because I could no longer attach myself to shit outside of myself. I could no longer deny doing my work because I had this like kick-ass job. I could no longer deny healing myself because I was a business owner. I could no longer deny that I like was fucked up because I had this beautiful, expensive apartment in the city. I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't do that anymore. I had nothing left to fall back on except for me.
A fucking sound that I see on Instagram just popped up in my head of Selena Gomez that she says this quote about there's blessings in the breaking.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful that like you're able to have that narrative now. Of course you didn't feel that way while you were going through it, right? Like you did not have like, oh, this is going to be my rebuilding moment and I'm going to come out to be a bad bitch on the other side.
No,
No, right?
no.
But it's in going through these trials and tribulations and really losing everything that you give yourself the permission to start all over again and look at who you become because of that. So
Thank you.
flowers to you.
I love getting my flowers. Thank you. I think everybody learns their lessons in whatever way they learn them, and mine just happened to be like really hardcore knockdown, drag outs. I'm an intense person, so I think in order for me to get the fucking message, I have to have like, I can't just be like, psst. Excuse me, you might just no.
God had to like shake me to my fucking core to wake the fuck up. No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I will admit I am so fucking hard headed.
Yeah, all of it. I mean,
No, I love that. And I really just do again appreciate you for talking about it because it makes me feel less alone in my own shit that I've gone through. And that's why I love highlighting other people who have gone through some shit, who have seen and heard and dealt with a lot of bullshit. But despite of what they've gone through, look at them now. And that's really the message behind everything that I do for this podcast is like, despite what you've gone through, you do have the ability within yourself to turn it around with whatever situation it is that you're going through. So, being the healing woman, I won't ever say healed because we're never healed. We're always healing. Work in progress for it's a lifelong journey. What is someone on the other side listening who might be where we were in these really toxic and shitty relationships? And they kind of want to leave, but they're scared, they're hesitant. They have the fear of like, but I love him, I love her, we've been together for so long, whatever excuse that they can come up with to not walk away. What is a piece of advice that you would tell him or her in order to really break free and start the healing journey of leaving those shitty relationships and really coming back to self?
God. I want you to know if you're listening to this, like, I see you in this place and I hear you. And I know this struggle and the way you feel so torn, the way you feel attached, the way you feel so broken and depleted and empty and longing for love. So if I can just say this, I'm going to cry. Like, and I say this to a version of me too, like, you are so worthy and you are so lovable. And you do not need this in a man. You do not need this in a partner to tell you this. If you keep looking for it from him, you're going to find yourself in this position time and time and time again. The work isn't leaving the relationship. The work is loving the ever living shit out of yourself. That's the work. So I think if it's difficult to leave and you're like, I can't leave. And look, like, it's hard out here trying to find an apartment. It's hard trying to do things as a single person. It is impossible to do shit as a single parent. So I don't knock anybody for staying for whatever reason they need to stay. And I think the work in that case is not how do I leave, but how do I start loving myself? Because that's going to be the key. Because once you really start doing that, and once the love is so profound, you're just able to be like, I don't tolerate that. I don't tolerate that because I love myself. I respect myself. I honor myself.
Absolutely. I mean, I say that all the time. And that's why I've been so adamant about like not dating now because I am working on the relationship that I have with me. Because I didn't have one when I was in that abusive relationship. I didn't have a relationship with myself ever, honestly, if I'm going to be completely transparent. And the relationship that you have with yourself, it really sets the tone for every other relationship that comes into your life, whether it's a romantic one, platonic, professional, whatever. In my opinion, you can't really heal the way that you want to in the environment that's getting you sick. I don't think that there's a way for you to stay in a toxic relationship and also work on yourself at the same time. You have to remove yourself in some way, shape, or form in order for the growth within you to really happen. And, it's easier said than done, obviously. I understand that. And I'm not knocking anyone otherwise, but I think it's really important for you to like you said, just find the value and the worth within you to love yourself enough to be like, no, fuck this. I'm not doing this shit anymore. And it's not fucking easy. It took for me to almost lose my life in order for me to get to this point now. But you definitely do have the power within you. And just hearing our stories, I hope it really allows someone to have that click go off and be like, oh my God, this sounds so familiar. What can I do next? You know what I mean?
Yes. And a lot of people are like, I know I have to love myself, but how? And if it were really that simple for me to give you like some like dumb coaching, like my top 5 tips, man, and you follow it like doctrine, like it doesn't. And I'm not trying to take like escape from this, but it is such an individual journey of how you love yourself because it's about getting to know what you want, what you like, what you don't like, what you value, what your non-negotiables are. Like, and these are all questions, and they can seem overwhelming, but it's so beautiful because you're now like learning how to love and date yourself. The same kind of questions that you want from to ask a man or want a man to ask you fucking answer them. You answer them. What do you like to do with your time? How do you like to spend your days? What's your best idea of self care? What do you value? What do you value in a relationship? Like, what are your relationship pillars? Read as much as you can, get as much information as you can. And if you're like, I don't know, well, guess what? If you say, I don't know, now there's a solution. You've already admitted that there's an opening for a solution. Now you go and you find it and you figure out what works and what doesn't. I read, what is it? It's March. I think I've read 12 books this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I read all the time. I'm hungry for information. Super curious about like how can I be better? How can I grow? I don't want to stay in this place that I'm in forever, right? Like I want to be better than I was last month, last year, 5 years ago. I want the version of me that was sitting in a 51-50 hold to be like, wow, we get to be her. Yeah. So I think it's these inquisitions that you get to ask yourself can be so powerful to go on your like self-love journey of it's a journey of discovery of answering all of those questions.
Asking and answering those uncomfortable questions. So we're definitely leaving y'all with some homework with this episode today, okay? Ask yourself those uncomfortable questions. Okay, I want to ask you one more thing before we go into the be fucking for real corner with Leanne. I'm so excited. So, being the woman that you are today, right, with the shit that you've gone through, what is something you would say if you had the opportunity to Eric and John? What would you tell them?
God bless. That's it. God bless. I'm not a religious person, so like if I say that to you, it's kind of like I don't give a fuck. God bless. Like I'm offering it up. I don't want it. It is not my responsibility to go back and have you see me. I am not in the business anymore of tap dancing for fucking anybody. I'm not here to remind you that I'm worthy. I'm not here to remind you that you hurt me or remind you that I need something from you. I'm not in the business of doing that anymore. Right? I'm not here to love you unconditionally or explain anything to you. I'm not your fucking mom. I'm not your mom. And I think what I've learned is that like not everybody has like earned the right to a conversation. Yeah, because like would I love to write a whole novella about all of this? Of course I would, but like for what? Because all that's gonna do is it's gonna land on people who have shown me that they do not have the capacity to see me, love me, to respect me in the ways that I love, honor, and respect myself. So all it's going to do is give pushback. There's going to be defensiveness. There's going to be stonewalling. There's going to be gaslight. No, I know who you are. And I'm not interested in having a conversation with that person. Maybe you've changed, but it's also, I'm not interested in knowing if you have or not. You've lost all access to me.
That is that bad bitch energy, okay?
So God bless. Like, God bless.
And go fuck yourself.
I wish you no ill will, but like, have the fucking life you deserve, you sack of shit. Like, whatever.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Have the fucking life you deserve, you fucking asshole. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, I really hope people are able to take away from us sharing our truths that despite the shit that we've gone through, look at who the fuck we are now. And you have the permission within you to turn it around.
Yeah. And get help. Go hard. Go 100 on your therapy. Go 100 on your coaching. Like, I was literally, like, I had a whole like team. I had coaches, plural. I had therapists. I had like twice a week I was doing something. I was reading. I'm never gonna get back here again. You open up your toolbox and you're like, what do I have? I have submissiveness. I have like amenability, deference. I have the patriarchy. I have all these things in my toolbox, and like, it's not working. So you need to figure out how the fuck to put new tools in your toolbox. So like, get support, get help, listen to podcasts like this, connect with women like Leanne and myself, the ways that we can help guide you and support you through this journey. Because if you're doing, until you get something different in your toolbox, you're not going to have the tools to do something different.
Mic drop moment. There's so many gems. And I'm so excited to get more. Okay, so this is the first time that I'm doing this with a guest.
Uh-oh.
If you guys have been, yes, I mean, you were the perfect one. You were the perfect one. So, for people who are listening or hearing for the first time, on my solo episodes, I do something at the end of every episode. It's called the Be Fucking For Real Corner with Leanne. And what that is that I read submissions on Reddit that people put in the relationship advice column about their scenarios, and I give my 2 cents of like, be fucking for real, you know? So I'm gonna read this to you, and then I want to get your piece of advice or what you would say to said scenario. And for people who are watching on YouTube, I'm gonna put it next to me so you guys can read along with me. But yeah, I'm so excited to do this because I've never done this with anyone else.
So these are just like Reddit / like relationship advice or some shit. Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay. So this one, it's a little long, but there's some tea. This is a male writing in about a female.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like this take. It's a hot take.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I, 31 male, found my wife, 33 female, sexting her ex-boyfriend, and I cannot get over it. Okay, that's the title.
Oh, there's more?
Oh, there's more. Yes. Oh, there's a whole scenario, sis.
I was like, because we could stop right there.
No. All right.
Okay.
My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 7. We have 2 beautiful children, a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. She was a stay-at-home mom for a while, but recently started working. I found out she was messaging her ex really by luck. I was using the office computer at home when I accidentally clicked on her profile. I got up and got a drink while it loaded. When I came back, there were a few notifications from a contact with her sister's name. I thought this was odd, so I clicked on it. She was messaging her ex-boyfriend from our college days. Only reason I know his name is because I was actually in one of the same classes he took. He was just talking about their sex back in the day and how amazing it was and asking for pictures. She wasn't talking sex back, but agreeing and was entertaining the subject. I was immediately pissed off because years prior, I told her to cut contact with him due to him cheating on her and being emotionally abusive to her, always gaslighting her. She said she did and told me not to worry about it. I waited until she got home before I confronted her. I threatened divorce and she didn't deny anything but begged me not to leave her. When I told her I was set on leaving, she tried to turn it against me. So she's now gaslighting him. I said nothing and didn't speak to her in exception of our kids for almost 3 weeks. During this time, she kept begging and apologizing. I was betrayed. She didn't physically cheat, but emotionally, and she was hiding him, so he was there to stay. After taking advice from a few friends, they told me to stick around, but just to keep my eyes open. We talked it out. I told her I didn't trust her and sternly told her if I were to find her doing anything remotely similar, she would get no warning and be hit with divorce papers. She agreed, and ever since, we don't argue or anything. I didn't necessarily forgive her, but we are on good terms. I always have that feeling in my chest that she'll do it again. I don't know if I can move past it. I want to know every single detail of how they started talking and why they started talking. I'm afraid to bring it up again. It's been well over 6 months. Any advice?
All right.
What would you tell this man? Be fucking for real?
Be fucking for real. So first of all, I think this be fucking for real is before you decide to get into a committed partnership, whether that is marriage or commitment, you have to literally have like a state of the fucking union address of like, what do you value? What are the pillars of safety in our relationship? What does reciprocity look like? What happens when we fuck up? How are we handling discretion? Because we're human. Right. So the fact that like you don't have these things kind of in place, like it feels like a betrayal. Well, have you guys talk about what betrayal is to you? Because that might feel like betrayal to someone, but not betrayal to the next person. Do you know what I mean? So I think the overarching thing is like, y'all got to get real goddamn clear before you get married. Have this conversation of like, how do you like to spend money? What do you think is a horrible, like what's a game ender divorcer, right? Is it infidelity? Is it something else? Like, I don't know. So just, I think having these questions answered, but I think the bigger issue is, do you feel safe in your relationship? And it doesn't sound like you do. And safety is emotional, it's physical, it's financial, it's spiritual, all those. And it doesn't sound like this man feels safe in his relationship. So I think you need to start there. If you feel like salvaging your marriage, and my stance on marriage is very different. I don't necessarily believe in it. I don't understand why you would do it, but that's to each his own. And if you are in a marriage, I do think that situations like this, when someone has been unfaithful or there's infidelity or whatever the case may be, going through these things together is because you need to learn something about yourself. That's the journey of marriage. It's not you do this for me. It means I am in this partnership with somebody and I'm going to learn a hell of a lot about myself, about patience, about empathy, about caring, about conditionality, all of those things. So I think you have to just own to the fact that you do not feel safe in your marriage. And the next thing I would say is that if you do want to work on this with your wife, then you would have to sit down with her and be like, here's what I need to feel safe. And if she does all of those things and you come to an agreement and it is something that you can't get over, then I think you need to now do work on yourself. We should be doing work on yourself anyways. But if it isn't something you want to, is it something you want to get over? I don't know. I also have a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions.
There's a lot of follow-up questions that are needed.
I got a lot of questions for her too, right? Like, this isn't even about you, homie. This is about her. Like, what is she missing? What does she need right now? Like, what's her hot take on your marriage?
There's definitely a lack that's going on in the relationship. And the fact that they cannot communicate, like, that's a red flag. The fact that they can't have these, it has to get to the point of like threatening you with divorce for you to be like, oh, no, wait, I was just kidding. Like,
right.
no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if, based off of what he's saying, if she's giving you enough to make you feel like emotionally, spiritually, physically, committedly safe in your relationship. And I kind of think the reason maybe you can't get over it is because it's not giving for you. Ever get over it, or maybe you don't have to get over it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a doozy, right? My answer would have been, fuck that bitch. Throw the papers at her.
I was like taking notes. I was like, but like that's the point of marriage. Like, look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. Like, right? Like, if you want to stay together in your marriage, like, that's cool. I'm not going to tell you not to stay. I'm going to tell it not to go. Like, I'm here to support whatever decision makes you feel the best and most connected in your life. Like, what you would do, what I would do, like, I wouldn't even get involved in that shit in the first place. So, like,
Can I read one more? Because I really like your advice.
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I want to do one more. Okay.
Are they going to listen to this podcast? Or is it just that?
No. I have no idea who the fuck these people are. And there's no name, so this is going to stay anonymous.
Because I can't go find them and be like, homie, what's
No.
going on?
This is another one. The title is, My Boyfriend Said I'm a 4 out of 10. Am I wrong for crying? There's no age with this one. They didn't write their age.
I'm taking notes on this one. Go ahead.
All right. Since dating my boyfriend, he kept making side comments about my appearance here and there. Then he compliments his ex every now and then. He says she is pretty, or ended up talking about how he fell for her ass. One day I asked him to stop because it was making me self-conscious. He never complimented me until I made a comment about it. It's been about 4 months, and I told him I don't have a good feeling about him and his ex, and that he makes it seem like he likes her more than me. He finally told me that she is more attractive than me, and that I am a 4 out of 10 for him. I even asked him how he thought about me compared to his friends' girlfriends, and he says they are more attractive than me. This is my first time reading this one. He tells me that his ex's beauty means nothing to him. Then he turns around and still tries to call me beautiful after telling me I was below average in looks. I am okay without being everyone's cup of tea, but my own boyfriend? Now I'm always looking in the mirror questioning myself. Every time we go out, I think about how he thinks all these girls are prettier than me. I don't think I'm ugly, but I'm also not super attractive. But damn, I thought I'd at least get a 5 from my boyfriend. What do I do? Do I leave because now I'm too insecure to be with him? Am I wrong? Would you date someone who thinks you are below average look-wise?
What's the title of this show? Be fucking for real?
Be fucking
This segment, Be fucking for real.
Uh-huh.
Baby girl.
Come a little closer.
I feel like her name's Kim.
Yeah.
This is a form of control and manipulation.
Someone said that in the comments. Someone literally said that in the comments. This is a form of abuse to keep you feeling like shit about yourself so they can fucking control you.
Mm-hmm. So, like, learn that as a tactic, right? Because if he creates scarcity, he's created control. And then my second thing is, you only want to be a 5?
Right. Right.
I have to, like, wax poetic about this because this is a 5? Fuck that. Like, you're a 15. Like, when, you know what? I never want to be with a man who's just like, nah.
You're average. Nah,
Yeah.
You're right.
You know, like, do I think I'm, like, the most beautiful woman in the world? Yes, I fucking do. How about
That's
that?
right. That's right.
How about that? If you don't think that I am, like, the most gorgeous, like, goddess prize that you've ever gotten, you know what I mean? Like, so my girl Kim, you are a 15. I feel like her name is Kim. You are a 15. Do not settle for the 5. This is a form of manipulation. Believe that you are worth more and go find yourself a man who would, like, literally lick your feet. Go and find him. Who's like, you look so beautiful in the morning. Like,
Yeah. Before you brush your teeth.
yeah, that's what you deserve. So, like, fuck that.
Oh, that was so good. If it's not a hell fucking yes, it's a no.
A 5? Like, you're like, I thought I would at least be a 5. Like, what? This is not.
Like, baby girl, you don't love yourself. Come on, let's have a conversation.
What would you say? Same thing? Be fucking for real?
Of course. Bitch, be motherfucking for real. Okay? Come on.
Does it give her age?
No, this one didn't. I think she was embarrassed. But, like, come on. Come on. We have to have some sort of self-worth, and, like, dealing with this bare minimum bullshit, nah.
Yeah. Because, and that's the other thing, too. Like, I was just having this conversation today. For those of you not in your 40s, like, wait till you get here. What a mind fuck this is. Because, like, we're all perimenopausal. Like, your skin changes, your body odor changes. This is not it. And, like, no one's preparing you for this. look, I had a tight little body in my early 30s, and like I look damn good now, but I also am like, well, that's shifted, and that I'm not going to look like this forever, right? So there is always going to be someone younger. There's always going to be someone hotter. But like, let me tell you, when we are in a relationship, no one is going to rally for you and ride for you the way that I do. No one is going to love you. No one's going to hold space for you. No one's going to help you fucking heal and be a man and lift you up. So like, an ass is an ass is an ass. If that's all you want, like, please let me open the door so that you can go and get it. Like, I don't want to stop you from that. But like, if you want all of the other things that come with this, welcome. So Kim, this is what I have to say to you.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I think I want to do this with every guest now because this is so much fun. Thank you so much for dropping so many gems.
There's a whole podcast. You could do a whole podcast of
Oh, girl, it's called content, okay?
Be fucking for real.
Yes.
You got a side podcast, like the Watch Us Thrive, like Be Fucking for Real adjacent.
Yes, absolutely. Angela, I want to say thank you again for coming onto the show. Your energy is incredible. It's infectious. I'm so honored to know you. We have to meet in person. Okay, let's make that shit happen. And this is not going to be the last conversation that me and you have. Thank you so much for being here. Share how people can follow you. What are you working on? Your podcast, all the good things, and any last minute gems you want to drop for the people.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at the Angela Gentile, my name, on Instagram and on TikTok for as long as we have that, apparently. Like, I don't know. You can also come and hang out, listen to the podcast. It's called the Empowered Millennials Podcast, and it's all about people who are just doing badass shit outside of the norm, outside of the box, who are sort of like breaking stereotypes and limitations and deciding that the life that they've been told that they should want sucks and they want to do something different. So it's a really empowering podcast if you're feeling like a rumbling within yourself of like, what I've been told ain't it. Come on over and listen to the Empowered Millennials on all streaming platforms. And right now I'm just sort of in like a chill mode. I'm not launching anything. I'm just getting to know people and sticking to my podcast, focusing on like having dope conversations and good guests. And that's kind of it. I'm in like a resting season. No.
Yes, I'm here for that. We don't always need to be hustling and grinding and doing the things. And I just want to give you your flowers real quick. The amount of podcast episodes that you drop per week, I'm like, how is this bitch fucking doing this? You're incredible because it's like boom, 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 a new episode and another one and another one. I'm like, yo, she got to teach me her ways because what the fuck?
Like, don't you just talk shit? Like, I just sit down and I'm like, what do I need to talk about today? Like, the content kind of writes itself because it's like whatever I'm experiencing, right? Like, the one that's coming out next week is only 10 minutes long because it was like, let me just drop a bar on this. Right? So yeah, I just feel like I wish that I could record voice notes clearer because I would just be walking my dog and be like, all right, let's talk. Like, right? Because that's like when it comes to me. But yeah, just like fucking fired up. Who cares? And that's the other thing too. I don't give, it's like unedited. Like, last night a mouse ran in front of my desk and my dog was just like, what the hell is this? I was like, this is real life. I don't try to make it perfect. I don't try to edit anything. I just like send it, like full send. So that's why.
I love that so much. We're going to link all her info in the show notes. Make sure you leave a rating and review for both of our shows. If you want to get more of her amazing energy, check out the Empowered Millennials podcast. Thank you so much, Angela, for being here.